This is the mammoth Volvo XC90. It's just huge. It dwarfs most humans, as you can see. But there's so much space in it. I don't think there's a better car in the market if you want to transport 7 people right now that can do the job just as well.
Welcome to Nobby on Cars with Mark Noble.
This is the B5 R design, all-wheel drive, 2-litre diesel with a price tag of €88,000. The boot is absolutely ginormous. Like, this is like a full double bed. It's just massive. There's so many combinations of the seats that you can rearrange. You can have this up and this down. The rear 2 seats have enough leg room for actual adults, like 6-foot adults, especially if you take that middle bench and just move it ever so forward. It's just incredible. LEDs, extra storage areas for the people in the back. Like, Volvo have thought of absolutely everything. And if you've bought one and you can't afford to pay for your house anymore, well, now you know you can actually sleep in it, which is brilliant. The independently folding rear seats in the XC90 offer an incredible level of flexibility. The boot isn't where the tricks end though. And then there's so many clever things inside in the car as well. Check this out. Volvo have also made it incredibly easy to maneuver these seats, these little small handles. Up here you can release the seat, and down here as well. And the same for moving this bench back and forward. There's a little pulley that releases this seat, which also can take a full-size adult in the middle of even 2 child seats. And yes, they're both ISOFIX. You know, most car companies wouldn't bother putting an armrest into that. They've even got drinks holders. With reasonable rear floor space, storage options all round, and even a 3-pin plug, which means you can boil a kettle or... which means you can do your hair if you have any. It probably would help if these doors could open a little bit wider, but the fact that you can actually move and adjust your bench like that really means, seriously, those 2 rear passengers, if you wanted serious adults in there, you could fit them with children in here, no problem. It really is genuinely comfortable. You could sit in this on a long journey and be fine. These little blinds that are attached to the doors mean you can, depending on the sun in Ireland, not very often, give your rear passengers some comfort in the back. And in the back, it's absolutely huge, as you've seen. All the different layouts of seats work incredibly well. These lights look great. They're kind of built into the car. They're LED, of course. The exhausts are real. There's actually a pipe in either one. There's no fakeness going on. And it's got one of the best reverse cameras I've ever seen in a car in my life. This B5 R design is €88,000 with €6,000 worth of extras, but you can go for the Momentum, which has an awful lot for €77,000, and it's still very expensive, but look at the car you're getting for that price. If this thing comes up behind you on a motorway, you're moving, baby. You're moving over. Now let's check out the front. Don't for one second think that the magic doesn't continue in the front of the XC90. This beautiful steering wheel, colour display which tells you everything and does a check on all the vital statistics of the car before you continue on your journey are all there. This touchscreen is a bit of a distraction to use, but it's generally okay. There's been a couple of times where I've had the wrong CarPlay cable in the wrong USB slot and it's not quite sure if it wants to connect up. There is Android as well. Android Auto now is standard in the facelifted version. This has a Bowers & Wilkins sound system. It's got like 20 speakers. I'm not sure, does the car have more speakers than airbags? And this being a Volvo, that's saying something. There's a button for opening the glove box. I mean, how fancy is that? The seats are really comfortable. Yes, the steering wheel is heated. There's places to store things. Your visibility all around for such a big car is really, really good. But I'd probably go for the interior in a brighter colour that Volvo do very, very well. They can get an almost white interior in the car, and unless you're going to be worried about makeup fingers on things, they'll probably wipe off anyway. It definitely would brighten up the interior of the car. I'd change that about it. Everything is electrically adjustable. You can control so much from your screen. There's no heads-up display in this car, which is strange. And your adaptive radar-guided cruise control featuring pilot assist, which is very good actually. I'll demonstrate it later on in the drive. Tesla, watch out. It all works seamlessly from these two areas of the steering wheel.
The Xenium Pack is an option you might want to consider, which is €999 for a limited time, which includes a power glass sunroof, cross traffic alert and a 360 surround view park assist camera.
So it's time to go for a spin in the XC90, and this is my first real issue. It's kind of got a bit of a tractor sound. There's over 250 brake horsepower, well over 350 pounds of torque. So all that stuff is covered. It's not even a slouchy car. It's just that kind of agricultural sound on revving just takes away from the experience a little bit. Now, it's a 2-litre diesel. It's trying to be reasonably economical. In this facelifted, upgraded version, they have a very, very mild amount of hybrid action that is more or less, from what I can understand, is just assisting the turbo spooling up and is getting rid of turbo lag. You don't expect to see particularly efficient results. Official figures are, and WLTP by the way, are 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres. I've seen the high 9s when cruising on a motorway, but generally I've found it's about 10 litres per 100 kilometres. In old money, if you're watching in the UK, I'll explain down below what that equates to. But for the weight of the car, I don't know if it's the worst result that you could expect. And again, it is fairly powerful. It will shift. It's not particularly slow. Now, it feels somewhat heavy. I mean, it's okay around bends. It's not what the car was designed for whatsoever. On these upgraded alloys, again, if you go for the Ore design, it is a bit firmer. Everything's a bit more shaky. My young fellow was in the back asleep and going over a couple of ramps, and the rocking and rolling of the chassis woke him up, and then he was a grumpy git. So the momentum is really where you need to be, especially the whole point of the XC90 is getting people there in comfort, in a bit of style, and in the right colour and the right alloys. They still look great without spending the extra on the Ore design kit. As nice as it is, I think for the actual purposes of the XC90, save the money, get the momentum, and kids will stay asleep on bumpier Irish roads. And bar that, there's really very little else negative I can say about the car. It's got an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Yes, there's the paddles here. You might use them the odd time. The gearbox isn't exactly sure where it wants to be, but in over a week of driving, I think I've used the paddles twice. And all the gizmos for telling you if you're going above the speed limit of the road that you're currently on are all there, and just it's a heightened awareness when you're driving a Volvo. The other thing it has done a couple of times is with the frontal collision avoidance, it's picked up a car pulled into the side of the road, or maybe a car that's actually parked, and you get this audible warning and the car actually starts to brake. And it happened at about 60 or 70 kilometers an hour a few weeks ago, and I got a bit of a fright. Let's put it that way.
A mild level of autonomous driving on the XC90 is the pilot assist, which allows small adjustments to the steering wheel. In fact, you can take your hands off for a limited amount of time, and the car will guide through lanes on a motorway, for example, without any significant input from the driver. This is also complemented by radar adaptive cruise control.
Of course, you could be like everyone else and get an X5 or a Range Rover Sport, they're making cars again that it's okay to lust after. It doesn't have to be a guilty pleasure anymore to say that you kind of like that Volvo over there. And for me, that's a really good place for them to be. It is a phenomenal car with a phenomenal price tag, it has to be said. If you're going to hold on to your XC90 for 10 years and drive it into the ground like a friend of mine has done who owns one and would love this one, and only bought the car on the size of the boot alone, because the Upper Vista, for example, which will test the boot of any car, this thing would take 4 of them. And if you've got yourself into the situation where you have all these kids and you need a 7-seater Volvo, well, the price tag is probably the least of your worries. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got a comment on the Volvo XC90, please do leave it below, and hopefully I've earned your subscription on the channel by now. There's ways to support it as well. It's fully independent, totally up to you to help support if you want, and you can do that in a number of ways. I'll see you very soon.